Silicon Valley does many things. It invents things, it disrupts things, and now it's exporting those values all around the world. Some startup hubs like Berlin have a technology pedigree, and that is spreading across Europe. For Tech Republic and ZDNet, I'm Dan Patterson with Steve Ranger. Steve, you were recently in Paris covering the startup scene in there. Why is Paris suddenly a hotbed of tech activity?
Hey Dan, yeah, absolutely. Paris is really trying to raise its game in terms of attracting tech startups, attracting that kind of talent that has often found itself moving out to London or to Berlin or to San Francisco or New York. It's been working on this kind of like project for quite a few years now. It's slowly beginning to bear fruit. Although the Paris tech ecosystem is a lot smaller than even London, and obviously London is much smaller than San Francisco, it's growing quite rapidly, and it's really showing some signs of kind of taking off. What's really interesting, what I found in my reporting when I was there, was that the authorities in France, they're really trying to shake up the economy. They're trying they've realised that they want to kind of like get these new businesses coming in. But they also want to use that kind of experience to remake the city and the state as well. So if you think of Paris as a kind of this like fantastically beautiful but quite rigid city that doesn't change very much, kind of from inside those gorgeous boulevards, in the courtyards behind that, what they're trying to do is kind of ignite a kind of a startup sense inside the kind of the city, as well as the tech companies in it.
What are some of the industries that are moving to Paris, or that the city is trying to attract?
It's really open in terms of what it's looking for. I think it's just looking for a lot of tech startups, trying to kind of start that ecosystem going, because what you basically need is a lot of smart people who've got lots of ideas and lots of energy and enthusiasm. You put all those people in one place and interesting things start to happen. So if you look at what they're doing with the startup accelerators and places where you can put all these startups together. There's something called Station F, which opened in the middle of last year, which is a huge startup campus. And what they're basically trying to do is get as many startups in one place and hope that kind of chain reaction magic happens. You can also look at other parts of the kind of society. There's something that I also visited, which you'll see in the story, which is called École 42, School 42, which is a kind of a college which doesn't give out degrees. It doesn't really have any teachers. And basically, if you're a student there, you could turn up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start working on your coding project with your peers. And you keep going until you're kind of happy with it. And it's that kind of, it's really interesting because, a lot of people see the French society is quite rigid and kind of rule-based. And what we're seeing is quite an enthusiasm here for breaking those rules. So something like École 42 or Station F is a really good example of kind of a more inspirational feel that's coming out of the society in general.
Are there things that the city itself is doing or have learned from other cities like Berlin that are working particularly well for the municipality?
Yeah, when I was talking to the politicians in charge of local government in Paris, what they were saying was they very much now think about how to create a city that people want to live in and to work in and to create businesses in. That might seem a little bit silly because surely that's what governments always do. But I guess governments don't necessarily think in terms of how to make a city a kind of an agreeable place to live in. So they're looking at all sorts of innovations there. And to be honest, they're doing it at quite a nice time, because if you look at London, which is really the dominant tech startup scene in Europe, that's having a few doubts at the moment because the UK is kind of going through the Brexit process now and looking at leaving the European Union. Businesses, even small businesses, like certainty. And so that's creating quite a lot of uncertainty. Now, at the moment, that doesn't seem to be making a huge impact on the London startups, although that's something we're going to be looking at a lot more this year to see if it does. But certainly in terms of if you're kind of like the second and third place states, if you're Berlin, if you're Paris, now is quite a good time to be putting out your wares and saying, we're a city where you should come and put your startup, because it may be that London's losing a little bit of that shine.
Well, it's great to see these innovations move all throughout the world. Steve Ranger, ZDNet, and TechRepublic. Where can we go to find this story, and what is in this story that is really exciting?
Sure, absolutely. So you're going to find this story on TechRepublic. You'll also find a version of it on ZDNet as well. But it's looking at the whole kind of the Parisian tech ecosystem and how that's impacting on not just the city, but on the broader French economy.